Yeah, being mad at basketball. It happened just so quickly, so suddenly. I was on top of my game. I was trying to redefine who I was. I even talked to Pat Riley, and we were, a couple months ago, and we were talking about at the time when I had to retire pretty much, or, had to stop playing. I felt we were a championship contending team. Not to say we would have won, but when you get there and you're successful, all you got to do is get back and focus. And you take what comes your way. Not having that chance, I was a bit bitter at that, just having it in so suddenly, but still feeling and knowing that I'm one of the best players in the world, for sure, top 20. Why? No, that having to deal with that, I just had to go through those things, go through those stages of grief, realize where I was, and eventually, be appreciative of it. You were talking about connections. One of me and my close friends, Josh McRoberts, we both lost the game at the same time. We were both, I think, I was 31 at the time. He was like 29. And just to hear someone, people would say, oh, yeah, that guy, blah, he always getting hurt. He can't help it if he gets hurt. Nobody says I'm going to sign a 4-year deal and be hurt every year and never play the game that I've always done in my whole life ever again.
Yeah.
But that's where we kind of connected, accepting those things. And I realized that is more often the fate of someone in our profession. So, I was even having a conversation with a friend. I said, it didn't end. I was so frustrated. I said, it didn't end the way that I wanted it to. He said, dude, it never does.
That's so when he said that, I was like, never does.
He took all the wind out of my sail because I wanted to argue.
I heard some good advice at one point. It was like, when you're talking to somebody and they have an issue, you should maybe clear up early on if they just want a vent or if they want a solution, because you'll probably get a real answer, even if they're like, man, I just want to talk. And you're like, great, because I have the problem where I like to solve problems. And so if somebody comes to me with an issue, I'm like, all right, what are you doing about it? Sometimes they just want to get it off their chest, Yeah. And I'm sure that's where you were at to some degree, is like, you kind of just want to get it off your chest, and, you feel a little trapped in the emotions.
For sure.
Actually, I have one question before I ask something a little bit deeper, but as a sports fan, and I am a sports fan, all sports, you look at players and you think, are you really injured? Like, come on, did you stub your toe? Because you really need to sit out. And, I've judged, being from Chicago, I judged like, Bears quarterbacks, or I've judged, the Bulls when, Rose was on the team, and I was like, just like people like that. And you're like, oh, come on, get out there and play. So truly, what happens that makes a player not be able to play the game? Whose decision is it? And how bad is it? And is it a short term yes, or is it kind of like a long term, like, we can't let this get worse? And I'm sure there's a range of it, but what's the general reason?
I think, the answer is different now. Now you have terms like load management, to where some guys will probably take a day of rest and not play. You'll have old school NBA players that will disagree with that heavily, because, we were all about pushing through the pain and all those things. I came to have more of a realization how much medicine and doctors play into athletes once I started having my decision, or not my what I was going through. But I'll put it to you like this. One of my I had a teammate at once upon a time. He injured his back, and he had surgery on his back. Years later, he has a toe problem. Then he has surgery on his toe. Now, could he have stayed? Was it the right procedure that was right for him? I can't tell you, but he progressed quicker than everybody thought he would. He goes to camp, starts the season, gets hurt 2 months later. Now it's nothing that he did. I mean, he's just trying to play the game, but his body is telling, okay, he's, something's wrong. And then after, I've had another teammate who he kept breaking his foot, like the metatarsal. It just would go first metatarsal, third, fourth, fifth, right after he broke the other one. So sometimes it can just be this chain reaction that you can never really come back from. And with that said, I mean, for me, I've played with sprained ankles, sprained knees. And then, I've told people, hey, don't wait till you come back. No, not, that's not the case. Sometimes you have to make a decision. I mean, even for me, I tore my groin, tore my adductor muscle in the pursuit of our first championship. And I didn't tell anybody. I just said, okay, the doctors told me in 3 weeks, maybe you can play with pain. That's all I needed to hear because I had my goals. Was it the best thing? Can't tell you. We won the championship. I didn't make any excuses. I didn't want to say, if I would have been playing, if my leg was, I know nobody cares. So for me, I had to be, I had to make that decision to, I guess, sacrifice my body a little bit to go out there and help this team win. And at the same time, I had to have that moment of truth and saying, okay, no, this isn't it. Our destiny is winning this thing. And I've got to be healthy or at least play to win,
Is it always ultimately up to the athlete, or does the team make executive decisions?
I think more so now the team is more of in a place to make executive decisions more so than before. I think before, we've had many athletes, whether they were mentally not ready, emotionally not ready, physically not ready, they played. And I think we've seen some kind of the detriment that it could bring. So I think now the league, sports, I think everyone is a little more proactive in trying to preserve health, or at least injuries, and not pushing the player too much.
Like a part of that also is motivation, right? Because like you wanted to win the championship. So like your motivation exceeded the pain. What was your motivation? Let's start there. I'm curious, like, especially when it comes to the saying of, is it the fear of losing or is it the love of winning? Like if you had to pick one of those to start with, which one would you pick? The fear of losing or the love of winning?
I picked the fear of losing for sure.
Yeah.
Funny story. I started playing basketball when I was like 9 years old. And it was a very historic place in South Dallas, Catholic school, which every Saturday they would have what's called Biddy Basketball. It's a league, 10 and under Biddy Basketball League. And if you were any good player out of Dallas, you played there. It's like the mecca of youth basketball. And we had a team. I was in the 4th grade. I was playing up, and we would lose quite often. I mean, if it was another team that went 0-10 in the league, we were 2-8 because we could only beat them. You know what I mean? And every game that we lost, pretty much, and I mean, it kind of stayed with me until around the 7th or 8th grade, I would cry. I mean, it hurt me like just like a loss in the family every time. I couldn't help it. And, I know my parents were probably just like you were shaking your head like, man, this guy. But that's just, I wanted to be like my heroes. I watched Michael Jordan win a lot of championships and he was still winning. And I just wanted just a taste, just a little, just what is it like on that small level? Just as that would be a great Saturday if we could just win a game, and I just put my all into it. And I guess I learned how competitive I was and how much I cared, and I guess ever since then, it was more so, I love winning, don't get me wrong, but that fear, and that's what I took into my professional career. And I don't want to, make fear a negative thing. It just is what it is. That fear of losing is like, okay, let me watch another hour of film. Everybody, let's go back to the gym. Yeah. I always found confidence in preparation. So I felt if I was prepared, if I knew my assignment, if I felt I knew I was physically ready, emotionally ready to go, that always gave me confidence. And then there's a mode to playing the game. My worries were always in between the big games. Playing the big game was no problem. It gets stressful, sure. it's playing basketball. It's that time in between where, you know, you have to keep it cool and keep it even for like 3 days, you know?